Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about Ethereum gas fees because really, quite frankly, they are too goddamn high and I know. I'm not, I'm not living under a rock. I'm aware of it. And it's a global issue, right? No matter what coin you're in, if it's on Ethereum, which is where pretty much all the action is happening nowadays, you're going to have to deal with this huge problem, which is massively high gas fees, right? Obviously, we know that gas fees are essentially transaction costs, and it's making it really hard to onboard new people and also just do things yourself, right? So in my favorite coin, it's a staking coin, and you stake it for the long term. But when your stakes are due, it ends up costing an arm and a leg to unstake. And so even just to simply trade, it costs a lot. And so look over here on this Uniswap front end. This is ethhex.com. Just as an example of kind of the problem that we're all going through right now in the crypto space is you can see I'm putting in one Ethereum here, right? Just not even one, zero point 0.1 Ethereum. And that's about $150, $170 today. So we'll put in 0.1, we'll swap it for my favorite token, and we'll wait for the gas fees to show up. So any minute now. Here we can see $33 in order to exchange about $170 worth of value. So what is that? About 1/6 of the cost of my overall transaction? Probably more. That's ridiculous, guys. Obviously, I'm going to reject that. I don't want to pay that fee. But this is kind of the pain that we're all going through. And just to indicate, again, what else? This is an example of... These are some of my hex stakes that are coming out, and you can see I've had one due ever since day 407, so it's now day 432. Basically, this stake has expired by over the 2-week grace period, and so it's bleeding out very small amounts every week, right? 1% per week, right? So when I go to unstake this one, we'll try to end that stake. Pulls up MetaMask, and any minute now, $69, guys. Nice, but not really nice. This is outrageous, and it makes it hard, right? It makes it hard. So I do empathize with everybody out there. It's not fun. So it's not an enjoyable experience. But now there are a couple of things you can do to mitigate that. And I'm just going to talk about what's coming up in the future that we can get excited about. Because I know the situation now isn't great, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, guys. And this is actually kind of a good problem to have for the time being, because first of all, it means that people are actually using this crap, People are using Ethereum, and with that, unfortunately, comes high gas fees because the adoption is coming before the scaling is able to be implemented. Now, obviously, Vitalik and their team is aware of this problem. They are not living under a rock either. So they have this whole ETH 2.0 roadmap. If you want to look that up, I'll post a link in the description below. It'll tell you all about it, but as we know, software, to do it right, takes time. And blockchain is not one of those things you want to be moving fast and breaking things, right? So we want to just be prepared for a little bit of a longer term solution on the ETH 2.0 front. And there's some other stuff I'll get into later, but guys, if you want to check on gas fees and how they're doing, there are different times of the day that you can transact that might help mitigate this high gas pressure, right? So you can go to the Hex community-made tool called hex.vision. Right on the homepage here, you'll see we've got this gas prices tab over here if you're not already aware. And you can go here and just find out when the best time of day is to do your transaction, whether that's sending, receiving, buying, selling, swapping or staking, and staking. And right now, we've got a lot of high gas fees, right? A lot of high gas fees. But there's this grid down here where you could see the optimal times of day to transact. So you can see that in general, over time, things are going from green to red, and red obviously just means high gas fees. Green means low. But there's this little chart down here. It says average slow gas price by day. And this kind of aggregates the different days on which gas prices average to be cheaper. And what it looks like is that on the weekends, particularly on Sunday, are when gas prices are really the cheapest. So just a quick tip, if you want to do transactions and you can wait until Sunday, it might save you a little bit of gas. We can see Saturday is okay. Looks like Tuesday and Wednesday are in the middle, but really, right now it's looking like Sunday is the day to go. So Sunday, but make sure you check on hex.vision, right? because that could change. It's always changing, right? But like we showed earlier, it's $30 to do a swap on Uniswap. It's $60 to unstake my open stake right now. And it's just bleeding out at 1% per day. Luckily, it's only $15, so I'm not really too concerned about it. And really, I have, a span of 2 years for that to bleed out. But just as an example of how this is hard for people to onboard new people, I was testing out Staker app, which is a great new app for cryptocurrency in general and for hex staking in particular. If you don't already have it, go to staker.coffee, link below. It's a beautifully well-designed app, but it's just a shame because it's hard for people to onboard with small amounts. And it makes it almost unusable if people are only transacting with $30 to $50. And when I was testing that app out, I put in $100 just to see what would happen and try to test all the different features. And by the time I went from Coinbase to Staker app and I swapped USDC for Hex, and then I staked that same Hex, after all the fees between Coinbase and the swapping and the staking, I was down to a stake value of $25. So $75 to go through the whole process. And I know it's not ideal, guys, but like I said earlier, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's not all bad, and we're going to talk about it. So not only can you look up the best time of day for gas fees, right? But there's stuff in the works, which I think we can get excited about, and that is in terms of Uniswap version 3, right? So check out over here, things that users hope to see realized with Uniswap V3. Obviously, the developers are working on this, and it seems like they're experimenting with a lot of L2 solutions. So what that means is L2 means layer 2. It's essentially like Lightning Network, but on Ethereum, because these kind of L2 solutions work for a lot of different blockchains, right? And it says, in this article, it says how this will be achieved remains open to interpretation. It's not really a sure thing yet, but it's definitely a top priority for these guys. I mean, they want people to trade, and ETH 2.0, like I mentioned, is probably not coming for another year or even 2. So in the more medium-term solution, I think Uniswap V3 is something we can get excited about, right? So here it says on this article, layer 2 scaling for Ethereum will no doubt be the biggest change to Uniswap at the moment. Carrying out swaps for DEX in its native form is painful for everybody but whales. I agree. The level 2 technology is still subject to rumor, but it's going to use a technology called ZK rollups, which are already proven to work. If you go to zksync.io today, you could test out and put some hex in what's called a layer 2 wallet, essentially. And you can transact for literally 1 penny of fees, and it's instantaneous. So it's great. I mean, it works just as well as the Lightning Network does on Bitcoin, but actually better because there's no channel inbound liquidity issues. That's besides the point. Faster and cheaper transactions. There are a number of existing options for L2 on the solution, such as Optimism, which is currently being tested by the DeFi protocol Synthetics. So Synthetics is kind of like fake assets on Ethereum, so it allows for derivatives and also real life assets on the blockchain, and they're testing out Optimism, which could be another solution. Plasma is another existing solution, although it seems like more of the focus right now is on Optimism and ZK rollups. So if you want to look into these and read more about them, and if you want to, maybe you're a developer and you want to actually help the cause a little bit, I know Hayden is really looking for people to help out over at Uniswap. And if you are a developer and you have the skills to help build the future that we all want to see, you can go over there and start looking into these new technologies. Again, that's ZK rollups and Optimism primarily, maybe Plasma as well. And you can get into these developer communities and you could see how you can contribute, right? So if you're not happy with this, just know that people are working on it. And if you have the power and the skills to help out, I'm sure they would all love some help, because it's not some gated community, guys. People can go. One of the cool things about crypto is people can just go and help improve things that they want to improve. It's pretty cool. So another kind of quick tip that I've been kind of doing or recommending to people that they do specifically to Hex is not making so many short-term stakes. And I get that that's a mistake that we all could have made at the beginning. I definitely made the mistake of having a few monthly stakes that end every month. And as I'm starting to realize those, and my first stakes really won't be realized until later this year and early next year, but they're going to be expiring monthly. And because of that frequency, that just means I have to pay gas that many more times, right? So what I'm starting to basically recommend to people. And obviously, it's not financial advice, but if you're going to set up a staking ladder in Hex, I think quarterly and yearly is kind of the way to go, at least for this mid to intermediate term. But really, even in the long term, I don't think that this monthly I don't think anything less than monthly staking is really a valid option. Now, again, I'm not telling you what to do. You do what works for your lifestyle, and your choices are entirely your own. But with Hex, it's a long-term, basically it's a digital CD, and there's a reason that CDs in the real world are 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year CDs. They don't offer these monthly options. And that's because the idea of it is basically a high interest savings account. And you're supposed to be saving for your future here. I think people need to think about more of a longer term mindset and really kind of adopt abundance thinking rather than scarcity thinking. So know what you're into and know why you're into it. So with Hex in particular, I can't speak for every coin, but this is a long-term play, right? We're in it for years. The 5555 club. It's not just something we talk about. It's something we're actually in it for. And so obviously also bigger and longer pays better. So not only do you get an amazing APY if you stake longer and bigger, but you're also delaying the gas costs. So they're more infrequent, one. And two, by the time you actually unstake, you're giving a lot more window of opportunity for enhancements to be made to Ethereum and to Uniswap and all the tools that we use. And so if you're trying to talk to somebody and onboard them, try to talk them through the long-term mindset and explain Hex as this long-term thing that it is, because you really shouldn't be investing with money you need now, right? You shouldn't be locking up money that you need to put food on the table. And if it's a massive problem for you, maybe you should rethink, maybe it's not the right time for you to be investing at all. And also with these smaller amounts too, it really does work better to lock up bigger amounts. I'm talking $100 and up. And I really don't mean to sound pretentious or anything like that, but if you're in a first world country, if you have a steady job of any kind, you got to ask yourself, how much do you value this coin? And right now, I think it's a very undervalued coin that people are going to realize the potential of a lot later down the line, right? So how much do you value your future? And if you're only valuing it, $50, and if you're making a $50 stake 1 year from now, that might end up being $75, $100, but how much is that really going to change your life? We're in this for the life-changing generational wealth. And so not only do we have to think longer term, but we have to think about maybe saving a little bit more and doing larger chunks a little bit less frequently. Again, that's just how I choose to look at it. I'm not telling you what to do with your life. Obviously, you're responsible for your own decisions. But, it is a universal problem that exists right now, and I feel your pain. I'm going through the same thing. We all are. Anybody using Ethereum, but, just imagine being a trader, for example, that is getting in and out of trades 1 time per day, multiple times per day. If I'm even getting in and out of a trade once per day, I'm paying $100 a day just to be a trader. So the cost of being a trader right now is exponentially higher than the cost of being a Hex staker, where you might only have to make these transactions once every, hopefully less than once a month, maybe once a quarter or once a year. And I'm actually thankful that I am in Hex during times like this, because I'm not getting hit the hardest, right? We're getting hit hard in Hex, I get it, but just imagine being in literally anything else. Let's say you're in a trade and it goes up $100 and you have a $100 profit, but then you have to pay $50 worth of that profit back to the network. It doesn't seem like trading is such a good idea anymore, does it? And so also I think one of my other thoughts when it comes to onboarding new people is to, it doesn't really work these days to tell them to, hey, go buy $10 worth and play around with it to make sure the system works. But when we're onboarding new people, what I'm kind of shifting to is just sending them a little bit of liquid Hex, maybe 50, 100, 1,000 liquid Hex, some small amount that I just have sitting around so that they can play with the system, stake it for a day, stake it for 2 days, probably realize gas fees are too high. And then that will actually help them kind of get the hints and get the idea that, okay, well, because the gas fees are so high, I'm going to want to do larger amounts. And obviously, because I want that interest, I'm going to want to do longer, right? So that's another way you can help with onboarding. But just think about this, guys. This goes back to the abundance mindset. I have 1,400 hex coming out. That's overdue right now. And I'm bleeding out 1% per day, right? So about 1% per week. So I'm losing about, 14 hex per week, right? It's not really life-changing money to me. I'm okay with losing that amount. But let's say I work and I help to onboard enough people into hex that the price goes higher and higher. Well, because I'm working and onboarding so many more people into hex, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, when let's say the hex price is at 10 cents, my asset value of that stake is worth 10x more. So even if it's at a 50% drop 1 year from now because I bled out 50%, if that hex is worth 10x more, I still made a 5x on my money. So to me, this is even a call to action, and it's actually an opportunity to help get more people into crypto as much as we can so that these prices, these gas fees, are massively offset by the huge potential for price appreciation that we have in Hex, right? So that's the blessing. Not only are we in a long-term coin where we sit back, set it, and forget it, but with the amount of pumpability, essentially, with how high this thing can go, I'm incentivized more than ever to help pump our bags by helping getting more people into a stable long-term product, which is a good product, I believe, that will increase in value in the future. And by doing that, I just think the reward of adoption and onboarding massively offsets any of these short-term $50, $60 stakes. So that's all I wanted to say, guys. Things will get better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But in the meantime, I'm staked, and I'm just here to focus on onboarding and, in my opinion, the single most important thing in cryptocurrency, which is adoption, right? That's it, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Hope you found this helpful. Peace out.